Welcome to the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. We're going to explore ways to sharpen our diagnostic skills, find learning resources, and hear from experts in the automotive field. Hey, what's going on, automotive world? Welcome to another episode of the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. My name is Sean Tipping, and I'll be your host for today's episode. Joining me on the show this week, Sam Brooks. Sam is a mobile programmer. He runs a business just outside the Detroit area of Michigan. He's been doing this for a long time. He's got a ton of knowledge about this side of the industry, programming and some diagnostic stuff as well. He also has a YouTube channel where he has some videos for programming vehicles, run you through an instructional on how to program X module on X vehicle. He's got a ton of videos on there. That's Tool Hut USA. And I will put a link in the show notes to that if you want to check that out. Sam also sells tools as well. So if you have some specific needs, he might be able to help you out with that. But really excited to get to sit down and talk with him because, again, really smart guy. He's got a ton of experience in the programming world. So with that out of the way, let's jump in. All right. Good evening, Sam. How's it going?
Going all right.
Awesome.
Busy day.
Yeah. How's business out there in Michigan?
Well, we got a new guy just started recently. So now I got three vehicles on the road doing programming.
Okay.
And I think today's the first day he really made me what he was costing me.
Okay.
So kind of a break-even day.
Gotcha.
For the new guy. He's starting to see all the struggles and starting to put two and two together.
Where did he come from? Was he a tech in a shop, or how'd you find him?
No, actually, he's one of my good friends from high school's son.
Okay.
That he went to Purdue and got a degree in mechanical engineering, and he wanted to do performance tuning. And we just got to talking, and I told him, I'm willing to send him to school for the performance tuning, but he's got to prove his worth to the business first. Okay.
And
so it's one of those, show me what you can do, show me that you're committed to this, and then we'll see what we can do with you.
That's interesting that you'd go to what I assume is kind of a high level school for something like that, and then not directly go into that field.
Well, he's to be honest, he's had several interviews with some manufacturers.
Okay.
And I don't know what the discrepancy is, but what they're offering him for wage is trivial. And he just, I'm sure once he gets his feet wet a little bit out here for a year or two, that I don't know how it'll go, but he's got a passion for the performance stuff. And he's got to understand the programming and how the car works, I think, before he can go to the programming, or to the performance tuning.
That's what I always told my students in tech school. Of course, a lot of them want to go that route, is performance and tuning and all this stuff. I'm like, well, let's figure out how it works first, and then we'll figure out.
Yeah, that's kind of how I started with him. But he's young. He's I don't know, he's 24, 25 maybe.
Okay.
Maybe not even that old. But he's good with technology, he's good with PCs. And I thought, well, I can teach him the part of the car that I need to teach him.
Sure.
I don't need him to fix the cars. I need him to understand, when the tech says, hey, I put a restraint control module in it, what that is.
Right. Do you think the younger generation coming up is going to be better equipped for, some of the stuff that we're doing, programming and stuff, as opposed to I feel like most people in shops right now, they're so lost when it comes to this stuff, right? I mean, that's why you and I have a job doing what we're doing, but maybe the younger kids coming up better with technology are going to be.
I think they're going to be better with the electronics, the programming, and probably the electrical diagnosis. Just my theory. I think they're just going to be better because they're used to the technology that everybody else is struggling with. They grew up with tablets in their hands.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily the electronics part of it, but I think that's just part of it. I think they're going to put 2 and 2 together pretty easy. The electronics part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just sort of innate. You grow up figuring out, operating systems, and it's not exactly the same as, working on a vehicle necessarily, but just having that kind of sense of how a program flows on a computer or.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I have found with him so far is that he doesn't understand the car, but so much of the programming is making the program work, getting the website to work. And he doesn't struggle at all with that part of it.
Okay.
He struggles with the car side, which I expected him to.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not struggling he's not calling and saying, hey, TechLine Connect's not working.
Yeah. I mean, really? Because I'm calling on that all the time.
But yeah, he doesn't get frustrated with the websites like I do.
Okay.
He just he'll try a couple of things and he'll call me and tell me what he's tried. And I was like, oh, I never would have thought to try that, but okay.
That's awesome.
So,
well, and maybe I should have started with this. For the listeners, do you just want to explain, what you do for a career or business, and then how you got into it?
Well, how I got into it. So right now, I run a business called Tool Hut, and we do equipment sales, diagnostics equipment sales. We don't sell tire machines and stuff, hoists and stuff like that. Although we have. I'm kind of a sales guy at heart. So if I can find somebody what they need, I'm willing to sell it to them. But at the same time, if I don't have a good resource for it, I'm not living or dying by selling them a tool. I'd rather pass it off to somebody that can take care of them. But so my focus is the diagnostics equipment sales and the programming side of it. A little bit of background. I was a tech until about 2005, and I went to work for Vitronics.
Okay.
Which had just been purchased by Bosch or ETAS when I started working there. And then we got acquired by Bosch internally. We changed divisions internally at Bosch. And so I went through that change, and in 2013, I was the subject of a restructuring.
Okay.
So I went from a sales guy to a district manager to a regional manager's position with an expense account, company car, traveling all over, covering 13 states.
Oh, wow.
Independent guys working for me. And then when they acquired OTC, I was part of that restructure, and they kept the OTC guys and threw the Bosch guys to the curb. Okay. So I was part of that, and then so 2013, when that happened, I kind of saw the writing on the wall. So our business started in January, and I got let go from Bosch in April. So I saw it coming.
Gotcha.
And so I had started. Tool Hut started as an equipment business, hence the name Tool Hut. And so we started as an equipment business, and then my son was turning, I don't know, he's 18 or 19, And I'd come home, 6 o'clock at night, and my son's just getting out of bed. And I just like, dude, we're going to get you something to do. So I signed him up as an AMSOIL rep, or signed me up as an AMSOIL rep. And he was working for me as an AMSOIL rep, trying to generate some business with AMSOIL. And I bought him or we had another J-Box or something, and I told him, I says, you know what? I get these calls all the time. People want this shit programmed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to teach you how to do the Ford and GM. I'm not doing nothing else. We'll just do the Ford and GM. And
okay.
And I don't know what happened. It just blew up. It was a total accident. We had no intention of it. We were looking for 2 or 3 jobs a day. And it was kind of as a sideline. We're going to run the equipment. We're going to do the AMSOIL. And we're going to do a little bit of programming.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions. Is I was wondering if, you recognized a need for that in your area, and that's why you decided to go that way.
No, I recognized the need, but I didn't want to be that guy.
Okay. Why not?
Well, I saw it as a conflict of interest to the equipment sales.
Mm.
So I'm selling guys equipment, training them to do programming, and then I'm competing with them doing the guy down the streets programming.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so it was kind of a tough pill to swallow, I guess. The programming dragged me in kicking and screaming, I guess you could say.
Okay.
I did everything I could not to do it. But it just happened. And then one day, my son says, I could probably do 3 or 4 of these a day instead of 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. And so we put together some flyers and mailed them out, and talk about shit hitting the fan. Yeah, the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah. And you're outside the Detroit area, is that correct?
Yeah, we covered Metro Detroit. I'm from the big city of Flint.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, I'm just outside of Flint. I'm on the outskirts of Flint. I'm actually in a little town that doesn't even have their own post office. So we have a Flint zip code because of where we're at. But
gotcha.
We're almost as far south as you can be and have a Flint mailing address.
Okay. So I imagine there's quite a few shops in the metro area there. What do you think? Is there an overarching reason why it's so popular? I mean, what is it about programming control modules that shops struggle with?
Well, I think it's the biggest thing I think is that they don't do enough of it.
Okay.
And
mm-hmm.
You go into a shop and you'll program a Ford for a couple of weeks. Now you got to update the IDS. You got to update the firmware and the VCM2 just to make the thing work. You got to, and I still sell programming equipment. And when I sell it to a shop, I always recommend that they pick their battles. Pick a manufacturer that you want to program, that you feel that you're going to do enough of it to justify having the tool. I don't care which one it is. Just, if you're going to do it, do the manufacturers that you see a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and actually my best customers today have their own programming equipment, and I like them the best because they understand what's going to happen when you go to program a car.
Yeah. Well, and they probably understand the value of what you're bringing in them too, because they've struggled through their own version of it, and they're like, okay, well, this one's on Sam.
Yeah. And I got a lot of shops that'll program GM and Fords with a J-Box.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll call me for the Chryslers. I got a few shops that have their own Chrysler tools, and they do all the domestic.
Okay.
And then they call me for the Honda, Toyota, Nissan, BMW, Volvo, all the oddball stuff.
Yep.
So our business has grown in leaps and bounds in what I call the oddball stuff.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah. When you can be the solution to the problem, or when something doesn't go right, they got a number to call. I mean, I'm sure you do as well. I have shops that call me that have the wrap box, and doesn't always work. So what do you do at that point? If you can be the guy on the other end of that phone, that's definitely where the business comes from, and you build value with that customer.
Yeah, and it's and I really think that the shops that do programming are more inclined to call a mobile programmer that has an OE tool for a job that they don't necessarily do all the time.
Sure.
They understand that, hey, we're putting this transmission in this BMW, it's going to have to be programmed.
Mm-hmm.
And they know that when they estimate. And the shop understands so it's not, they're not calling you at 3:00 on a Friday and saying, I need this done today.
Yeah. I have a
called
few
on
of those.
Monday and said, hey, this should be ready Thursday or Friday. Can you get out here by the end of the week?
Yeah. They didn't realize until they put it in and tried to drive it that, oh crap, this thing needs to be programmed.
Or they'll call and say, hey, before I estimate this, does this need to be programmed?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with that, and a lot of times I'll stop and look it up on ALLDATA or something just to see for me. I understand they've got the resources to do that themselves, but maybe the ALLDATA's using some terminology that they don't understand, setup and, does that need to be programmed? You should be able to do that with your scanner.
Sure.
If you can't, I can do it. And this is what I would charge, but I'm not offended if they do it themselves.
Yeah. Oh, I found just being honest with shops as much as possible it is huge, just to build up that trust and saying yeah, hey, okay, that TIPM doesn't need to be programmed, just push down the fuses or whatever, and it can definitely go a long way.
And we still have shops that insist that we program the TIPMs.
Okay.
They're not releasing the car, and whatever.
Sure.
I'm good with that.
All right.
We do a lot of them.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of them used, but it's because they'll call the dealer, and the dealer says, "Oh, those you can't do those used," and they got VIN mismatch codes, and they call me, and I say, "Oh yeah, I can, no problem."
Yeah. Yeah. Again, having that solution for that used or discontinued module or whatever it is another avenue and a thing I've been running into more and more lately, especially with all the shortages and stuff. Is sometimes you got to go that route.
Yeah, and I have, matter of fact, I got you can't see it from where you're at, but I got 2 GPEC 2 computers on the bench right now that I've taken apart and cloned them. I did 2 yesterday, did 2 today, and I got 2 Kia computers to do tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
So I'm staying busy doing that.
That stuff's fun. It's a lot of work and tooling and research and stuff, but I've the small amount of it that I've done, I've enjoyed quite a bit. It's just getting in there. I have a module open on my kitchen table right now. The driver burnt out, and I was going to try to swap it out. It was actually one I just programmed for a shop. They just replaced it, and I was like, "Hey, can I have that old one?"
Yeah, I've got I got a Ford over there with coil driver out of it too,
and
I've got a couple of Chrysler computers with the voltage regulators out of them. I'm going to see if I can't repair those.
All for the alternators that won't charge? Okay.
The 4-plug, whatever they call it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I had what was it the other day? I was it was an old Nissan Quest or something like that. And so it ended up, it had a bunch of holes in the bottom of the module, just rotted through. And I was like, I'm not going to bother with that one because it's all full of crusty stuff. I was like, yeah, you could just hang on to that. I'm not going to try to mess with that. But yeah, burnt driver or something like that. I'll definitely give it a shot and see. And then, if nothing else, I learned something from it, but maybe I have a module I can.
Well, I've got an accumulation of ECMs and PCMs on my shelf over there.
Okay.
That I've gotten from shops that either didn't fix the car or they did fix the car, and I just wanted the computer as a to open it up so I could see what was up with it.
Sure.
So, but I'm not really selling computers at this point. Maybe at some point, but right now it's more of experimental. Take it apart and see what broke.
Yeah. Well, exactly, and figuring that stuff out helps you if you need to diagnose something. You get know a little bit more about the internals and what fails and stuff like that.
I haven't had the time to mess with them. I keep accumulating them, but they just accumulate on the shelf.
Yeah, that pile of
they've got notes on them, but I'm sure I'm not going to be able to read when it comes time to.
Yeah, my pile of projects always seems to get bigger and bigger that I want to get to.
Yeah, I brought 2 home today. I just stuck them on the shelf.
Sure, sure. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's crazy how many different avenues you could take within the auto industry. When I just got into it as a student in tech school, okay, I'm just going to be replacing parts on a car, and understand like all the different paths that you could take and all the different little areas you could be an expert in. You could be,
Yeah, I had of the whole time I was working on cars, when I was in shops, I owned my own shop for a few years. I worked at several dealerships, worked at several independents. I was the guy I always figured my goal was to wear out a set of wheels in a toolbox.
Okay.
I didn't stick around anywhere very long. But, in hindsight, I think it helped me because I saw a lot of different atmospheres in shops.
Sure.
And so I got a lot of different experiences, but I didn't, I probably didn't stick around long enough to get the full gist of it,
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one of my things I think is really cool about being a mobile tech is getting to see how.
Oh yeah, you
so
can
many
tell
different
from the
shops.
outside of a shop when you pull in now, can't you?
Yeah. There's so many different levels and so many different ways to do it. But yeah, you walk into a place. I think one of the things that's the worst about a really bad shop is the lighting. If it's like you walk in and it's like a dungeon and you can barely see back there, and I'm like, how can these guys work in this? Because I've been in the opposite where it's lit up extremely well. They got all kinds of lighting. You can see everything you're doing. And I'm like, how do these guys do it? But there's so many different ways to do it.
Yeah, there's so many shops in the Detroit area that we go to in the winter that don't have heat.
Oh my God. I mean, that's just as bad as here. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I don't know how they work out there. And the crazy thing is that's the shop that always wants to pull the car in. And I'm thinking, well, it's 0 degrees outside, 0 degrees in the shop. What's the difference?
Oh man.
I'll truffle through the snow. I'll just do it outside.
Yikes. Yeah. I
and I'm sure you do too, but we do a lot of stuff in the parking lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And to me, it's it's inconvenient to pull it in most of the time anymore. There's times that it needs to come in, but
especially if it's a little 2 or 3 bay shop, and you're taking up half the shop to have the car in there. If I can get to an outlet, I have no problem doing it outside. Yeah. But yeah,
there's exceptions to everything, but I'll tell if it's a job that I know I'm going to need it on a lift. I'm going to have to get numbers off the trans, or I'm going to have to get to the connector on the trans or something. Then I'll call them ahead of time.
Yeah, if I want to use their, hardwired to their modem or something like that, I'll set it up ahead of time. But sometimes it's nice too. I don't know. Do you have shops where you'll have technicians that come up and just want to just talk and talk and talk while you're trying to do something? I mean, I don't mind talking to techs, but I have guys that'll come up and they just will not leave me alone. So I'm like trying to, type in.
I don't run into that very much.
Okay.
And usually it's the biggest conversation that we have is I'll be in a shop, a guy will come over, and he'll hand me his phone number on a card, and he'll say, well, next time you come here, I won't be here. I'm going to be at blah, blah, blah shop. And he says that if they don't call you already, I'll make sure they start calling you when we get there.
Yeah, nice.
And it's usually the tech that never says anything to me. And then all of a sudden, he's over there, you know, you got to come to our shop, you know, or I'm opening a shop down the road, or, you know.
Sure. I've gotten a number of referrals that way of, you know, tech that works at one shop, and then he, I don't know, quits, gets fired, goes to another shop. Yeah.
That's a good way to grow your business.
It 100% is. So I definitely try to be, you know, as friendly as possible with all the technicians. I mean, not that I wouldn't otherwise, but it's definitely been a great referral to get me to other places.
We don't anymore. We probably should, but we used to pass out business cards on magnets because they stuck to toolboxes.
Oh, sure. Nice.
We haven't done that in a while, but I still see them stuck to guys' toolboxes.
Okay.
Sometimes they got things drawn on them, but, you know, whatever.
Sure. So, okay. So you said 2013. So you're coming up on 10 years of business?
8.5 years. Or no, 9.5 years. Coming up on 10 years.
Nice.
In January, it'll be 10 years.
All right.
Yes, it's almost 2023.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Who would have thought 10 years ago that this is what I'd be doing? Like I said, it's, I've got more OE tools now than I ever thought I would own.
What, when you buy a new tool, whether it's OE or aftermarket, what goes into your decision making process to say, okay, this tool is going to be worth the money I'm spending on it?
Well, I have a weird analogy when it comes to buying equipment. If I don't have it and I think I can use it, I buy it.
Okay. All right.
So I don't put a lot of, adding another tech. I've had to put some forethought into what am I going to put in his car.
Yeah. You get some doubles of stuff.
Yeah. But like I got a Volvo dice, you know, there's not a lot of guys that got a Volvo dice. I got a Honda, whatever that blue tool is. I can't even think of what they call it. DSTI.
Okay.
I've got the Nissan Consult 3 with the VI2. I have not bought a VI3. Actually, I did buy a VI3 and then I sold it to a customer that needed it.
Okay.
So I told you I'll sell it. You know, if a customer needs it, I'll sell it.
Okay.
So I went back to my VI2 because there's nothing you really need the VI3 for yet. So, and there was no real reason to sell him the VI2, I didn't think. I've got an old Mitsubishi Mutt-3. I probably used it twice in 5 or 6 years. I'm not afraid to take on a challenge. It's one of my other issues. You know, I got a BMW tool. I got Volkswagen Audi, Bentley. If I feel like I can use it at some point, I'll buy it. Okay.
I gotcha.
I got Mazda. So I got Mazda, Nissan, Honda, and Toyota, all OE. The Subaru.
Do you have the Subaru factory?
I do, yep. The one that looks just like the DSTI.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of people out there that are using that outside of the dealership either.
Yeah, it's a genuine one, but I don't have a legitimate subscription for it anymore.
Okay. So it's more about being able to say yes to whatever.
My analogy is, and I could be completely wrong, but it's worked, is customer calls and he says, you know, I program my own GM, Ford, and Chrysler, but I got this Mitsubishi in the lot I need done. And I feel like if I could tell him, yes, I can do that, then the next time he needs something, I'll be his first call. And if I say no, you know, even though the Mitsubishi tool has not paid for itself, I think it's helped retain customers.
Yeah, I I can agree with that with a couple of the tools that I've had. I think when I first got the Nissan tool, it was specifically for that reason because I service a lot of transmission shops, and I think now I am, but at the beginning, I definitely wasn't doing enough Nissan, CVT stuff to warrant it, but there was a frequency enough where I would have to say no. I didn't want to. I wanted to be able to say yes so I could get my foot in the door with that shop and then get the Ford solenoid strategies and the GM TCMs.
Well, it was kind of odd. When I bought the Nissan tool, I was using NERS and R2R software with Cardec 3. And I was, between NERS and R2R, you can get just about everything done you need to get done.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was at a shop one day, and there was a guy there selling a dealer Nissan tool.
Oh, no kidding.
It was the laptop, the VI2 with the active. Well, he said it had an active subscription on it. It did, but it was really old. It was a really old version of the Consult 3. And it was a super fair price. And the shop owner looks at me and he says, "You interested in that?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm interested in that, but I'll give him blah, blah, blah dollars for it." And he says, "Okay, I'll take it." And I said, "All right, follow me up to the bank."
Nice.
He followed me up to the bank and got him some money. And from the day I bought that tool, I've probably done 3 to 4 Nissans a week. So it's, and the plastic was still on my VI2 when I bought it.
Oh, nice.
It had never been used.
I purchased mine like right after they removed the laptop restriction. I don't know if that was 3 years ago where they did that, where they said, "Okay, fine, you can just use it with any other, laptop." And that's why I ended up getting it. But yeah, now
I wouldn't have bought it if I didn't get the deal like I did on it.
Sure. Well, because
I would today, but
prior to that, yeah, it was crazy money. You're spending $8-9 grand if you wanted to buy the whole setup, brand new. But it's with all the CVTs, and then I'm seeing a ton of the like Pathfinder Armada style transmissions lately that I've been doing, and it definitely pays for itself at this point. But yeah, the ability to say yes to people is huge with what we do, because people call us to be, "Hey, this is the guy that can do it."
Yeah, and I do have a locksmith that I work pretty close with too. I cut keys, but I also pick my battles, just like I recommend that shops do. I pick my own battles, and there's times that I just don't, I don't want to get involved. I just
sure.
I don't think it's profitable. It can be, but it's not for me at this point. If I got a light afternoon and a guy calls and you got an all keys lost on a car or something that I can do, I'll absolutely go do it.
Yeah, that's a skill set I'm still developing, is to recognize when something is a worthwhile venture, or when it makes sense to say no.
Yeah,
because it's going to eat up too much of my time.
And I started with, when I started sending him stuff, I was sending him the Euro stuff, the stuff that I really didn't want to get involved with,
Gotcha.
And today, I do a lot of keys, I'll be at a shop, just like you probably are, that they don't have 2 keys for that old Ford sitting there that's going to require 2 keys when you're done. So that's how we started doing keys, and that's still our primary business. But then they'll say, "Hey, by the way, I need a key for this Malibu or this Impala or this Rendezvous while you're here if you got one."
Mm-hmm.
And so we cut a fair amount of keys doing that. And I'm fair on my pricing, I think, for keys, but it's still profitable.
Sure.
But at the same time, I don't drive way out of my way to do a spare key.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it in the schedule, and when I'm near there, I'll do a spare key. But all keys lost is where the money's at for the locksmiths.
Right.
And for me, I've got leashes and I know how to use the leashes, but I'm not real good at them. So I might spend 45 minutes doing an all keys lost on a GM or locksmith. Could be in and out of there in 15 minutes and charge the same money.
What key cutting tool are you using?
I have a Miracle A9. Oh.
You like that one?
Yeah, I bought I've got two. My son's got the X-Horse XP005, which is the manual machine, or the XP007, I guess, is the full manual machine, which is the machine we started with just for duplicating those Ford keys. That's when we bought a key machine. That's what we thought we'd be doing.
Sure. Yeah.
Just like starting with programming, I thought a J-Box would do what we needed to do.
Yep.
So you quickly learn that that's not how it works.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's how you learn. Is you're at the job, you're like, oh crap, I need this, or I could have used a key for this thing. So yeah, I have a whole box of different Ford keys that I can just have ready when I get to that shop. I don't even ask anymore. I just go because I don't have all of them, but I have most of the Ford keys in a box. And so when I get there, I'm just like, well, hey, you want me to cut your key? And then it just upsells the job a little bit.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And if they've only got one key, I always suggest that they should have a second key anyway. Even if it's a parameter reset car.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Oh, they should just, and sometimes they'll just say, no, the customer's not worried about it. Okay. Well, just remember, all keys lost cost more money.
Yep, exactly.
So, and so that's how I do it with the keys. And then one of the things I wanted to discuss on this was for shops, for understanding what goes on when you program a car.
Sure.
Just what to look for. What does it really need to be programmed? Does it? What are some of the hang-ups that we hear is mobile guys we hear, and it's just not feasible. Things that they're calling and saying, well, you program this car and the program fell out after you left.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. It's not how it works. And I've learned a lot. I sold J-Boxes for years, and I made the transition from J-Box to OE. And I still use, we still got J-Boxes in all the cars. And sometimes you can use OE software on a J-Box effectively, and sometimes you can't. Even though they say you can, sometimes it's just not feasible to do it. A good example is BMW. And on an E-chassis car, I don't think it's a big deal to use a J-Box to program a BMW. It's not as fast as the Icon, but it's also not a whole lot slower.
Okay.
On an E-chassis car. And a lot of aftermarket tools, the Autel, the Top-Down, there's several others that will actually program an individual module on an E-chassis.
Sure. Yeah,
and
right
so
through
you
the
don't need
scan
to call
tool.
a programmer for that,
Yep. What year did they switch to the F?
I think the transition started about 2009.
Okay.
So there was a few years. I'm not a BMW expert by any means. I just brought up the BMW and the J-Box as kind of a conversation.
Sure.
And it's I have an ICOM, a genuine ICOM.
Okay.
And I use it pretty regularly, and I'm a big fan of it on the F chassis BMWs,
Okay.
F and G chassis. And but if you're going to do programming on BMWs, and you're working on a 2015, I don't know what the chassis numbers, but a 2015 BMW, and all you got's J-Box, I'm going to tell you to stop.
Yeah.
Put the tool down. It's going to be a problem.
Sure.
And I really think that a lot of the J2534 manufacturers and just because BMW says they support it doesn't mean it's recommended.
Yeah, there's a number of examples like that where, you have the option to do it J2534, but is it quite right? Are you going to run into some issues? Is key cycle is going to be a problem? I think that's Volkswagen.
Yeah, that's a Volkswagen Audi thing.
There's a number of other ones, just weird glitches, right? That where if you're using that factory tool, it just breezes past it. You don't have that problem, that's where again, we're having those tools and being that guy that can do that stuff is valuable.
Yeah. And I think there needs to be some kind of resource for techs to look that stuff up. And I've got a website, and I've considered telling my web guy that, I want to put a resource like that on the site. But, the biggest problem I got is a lot of stuff's in my head. It's not wrote down anywhere.
Well, okay, that was going to be one of my questions for you, actually, is you've obviously done this for a long time, and you have a lot of knowledge in this, particular area, this field. What do you do for documenting information and recording stuff? Because I find it tough to remember all the details as time goes on.
And I've tried different things. Most of it, just learn over again.
Yeah.
You learn it twice.
Sure.
And it's terrible because I'll sit there and I'll say, I know I've run into this before. I know I've done this. I know this error. And I'll give you an example. I was programming a 2005 2006 maybe. I don't know, a Saturn relay.
Sure.
It's a Uplander with a Saturn badge on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the PCM continued to fail programming. And I made a decision. I've got Tech 2 and I've got old version of TIS. And I'd made a decision that I was going to try the remote telling the scan tool that it was an Uplander.
Okay.
Put the right VIN in, but tell it it's an Uplander and doing it remote. And it worked. And everybody tells me that shouldn't have worked. Well, I did it.
Yeah.
And I've documented that I've done it. And then the same type of vehicle, the Uplanders with the automatic power sliding doors, you have to pull the sliding door fuse or the PCM will fail.
Oh, okay.
And it's just stuff like that just, there's so many tips and tricks after you've done this a while that, you learn, and they're not well documented.
Right. Right.
They're in my head.
So you're talking about having like a website that somebody could access to say, okay, I'm going to do this job. What precautions should I take?
I'm going to do a Uplander, and it may not have specifically the 2005 Uplander, but it's going to say Uplander pre-08 or Uplander relay or whatever the other lookalikes are. I'm not good with all the manufacturers' names of vans.
Sure, yeah, there's quite a few of them out there. So
yeah, so it just and a lot of times I'll call a terrain an Equinox when I'm sitting in it.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I always got to look at the steering wheel and say, what's the logo on the steering wheel?
For whatever reason, for the longest time, I called, what was it, the GMC Acadias. I don't know how I came up with it, but I thought there was an R in there. I thought it was Arcadia. I kept calling them Arcadias, and somebody actually called me on it one time. They're like, "There's no R in there." I'm like, "Oh, really?" I look at the back of the car. I'm like, oh, I'm a dumbass. I've been looking at it.
Well, it's funny, when the Traverse first came out, I called it a Transverse for a long time. I was like, I stopped and looked at the nameplate one day, and I thought, hey.
Well,
that whole word's not there.
We used to have just, as technicians in a shop, you just come up with fun names for vehicles, and we'd called Ford Explorers, Ford Exploders, with
Yep.
legitimate reason behind that, because they were a piece
Yep.
of shit. But I remember I called up a customer one time because I had to sell my own work. I'm like, hey, sir, Mr. Whatever, I've got your Ford Exploder here. And like, it just slipped out of my, my mouth. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, Explorer. And he was cool about it. He had a chuckle from it, but
Yeah. Well, I remember we had a service writer that started. I was working at a tire place. It was a brake and front end job.
yeah.
And a customer came in. I didn't see the customer for a vibration, and I go. The service writer comes down and he's a new guy, and he always got to harass the new guys. And I told him it was loosen up behind the wheel. And no more than I said it, he turned and walked away. And I was like, "Oh, whoa, whoa!" And he got on the phone and called the customer and told him there's a loosen up behind the wheel. I didn't catch him.
Yeah.
So I learned to be careful about what I say to the new guy.
Sure. Yeah. We used to send the new, GS person, the tire tack or whatever you want to call them. We wanted to go over to the car wash that was next door to get the squeegee sharpener. We're like, go over there. We need the squeegee sharpener from there. And some of them would be like, oh, ha, ha. And then we got a couple of them to go over there and actually ask for it. But yeah, you got to have some fun in this job.
Yeah,
that's for
you've
sure.
got to. There's too much going on to not have fun with it.
Exactly.
I was in a shop the other day, had firecrackers sitting on on his cart. And I thought, oh, this guy's a lot of fun to work with.
Yeah,
I looked for a lighter because I was going to throw one, but I don't smoke, so I didn't have a lighter in my pocket. But, I'm sure if there'd have been a lighter there, it was the first time I'd ever been to the shop. So
yeah,
had a ball with that.
Yeah, that's the sort of industry too. You get a bunch of, guys, especially if they're younger in their 20s and stuff, and then there's no work to do. Shenanigans begin to happen. That's just the way it goes.
And that's the other thing I think that's helped me was I grew up, kind of working in shops. And I'll walk into a shop now, and I'll walk right underneath the car and, just duck and not even think anything of it. And
yeah.
Somebody will say, oh, you've worked in a shop before.
Sure.
Or I'll step on an air hose and, not trip, and it.
Yeah. Or have you been in a shop where one of the air hoses, the end comes loose and it's just all over the place? And I'm just kind of like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I've been there before.
Yep. Been there, done that.
Yep. I'll tell you what though, doing what we do, it's very specialized in a certain area, and you got to know electrical and you got to know the computer side. But man, knowing the car side of it sure does help a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I don't. Right now, we don't do any diagnosis in the shops at all.
Okay.
We just don't have time for it. There's just too much programming going on. I kind of miss that part of the business. I like the challenge of it. But at the same time, the money's in the programming. It's plain and simple.
Sure. I completely understand that, and I see it more every day.
And so today we do more trying to give them direction. I was at a shop today. They had put a brand new from the dealer computer in a 2002. Yes, you heard me right. 2002 Town and Country.
Wow.
And I was there to program it, and it's a pretty simple program, but I got a DRB3, so I do what needs to be done to it, and the TPS is 5 volts. It's a crank no start.
Okay.
And that's not the original complaint. So I showed the tech that, hey, there's something wrong with this computer. The TPS is 5 volts. You can sweep it and it doesn't sweep. And the other computer that was in it had an EGR fault.
Okay.
And the car started and ran. It just had a problem with the EGR.
Sure.
And then, you know, the coolant temp was 148 and it's like 40 degrees outside. You know, something's
Yeah.
something's wrong here. And for some shops, for some mobile guys, that's probably tough because they don't understand the car side of it, and I do. You know, and I can scroll, and I'm not any expert, but I don't mind giving a guy some direction. You know, I've programmed the computer, and it's still doing the exact same thing. I'll spend a few minutes trying to, you know, hey, this is what I would look for if it was me working on this car.
Okay.
You know, and I think that has a lot of value to it as well.
Definitely. Yeah.
You know, and I'm probably not always right, but sometimes just a clean slate, having somebody else glance at your work helps a lot too.
Oh yeah. I've found that so many times. It's just talking to somebody else and getting some pointers and some direction. They most of the time don't give me the exact answer. Sometimes they do, but most of the time they don't, but it like nudges me to move there. I'm not
trying to give them silver bullets. I'm trying to give them direction.
Yep.
You know, hey, I noticed this, and maybe they hadn't noticed that. You know, maybe they had. You know, but like that TPS, and like say, knowing that the original complaint wasn't a crank no start, I knew that. You know, well, this is a problem.
Yeah. Exactly.
So we unplugged the computer just to make sure that it didn't cross some pin, you know, bend some pins over, stuff like that. But there wasn't. So, yeah. Got a bad one.
Yeah.
I see a lot of that anymore. I see more bad computers right off the shelf in the last year than I've ever seen.
Well, just parts in general. It's been absolutely crazy. I just went through this on a Toyota where it's brand new parts and multiple failures with the new parts. It's so tough for the tech. And I mean, I struggled going through it, you know, second guessing myself and stuff like that. But that's what we're dealing with in this industry right now.
Yeah. I just, one of my last diagnostics that I did was a fuel pump control module on an 11 Sierra Silverado type truck. And the truck came in as a no start. They put a fuel pump control module in it. I programmed the fuel pump control module, and now it had a rich condition. And they were they'd put 8 injectors in it, trying to figure out, you know, it's overfueling, and it's obvious that it's overfueling. And it was the bad fuel pump control module.
Okay. Wow.
But they had struggled with that truck for a few days, and I can understand how come they struggled with it, because that's the part they replaced.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
The truck didn't run when it got there. So was it running like this prior? You know, nobody knew.
Yeah, exactly.
The customer didn't know. He said, yeah, it wasn't running good. So, and it probably wasn't running good because the fuel pump control module was failing, but his not running good was probably a lean condition. And the tech's seeing a rich condition. You know, you can't put the two together because the customer doesn't understand the difference. But that's kind of a struggle for techs, you know, just with the parts are just garbage.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, even sometimes getting them from dealerships, it's no better.
Oh, yeah, that's no better.
That's where, if you are doing the diagnostic side of things, is really, you know, having good testing methods and be able to trust your testing equipment and the results that you get, and have an expecting result. Otherwise, you're completely lost. Once you've replaced everything, it still doesn't work.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah. And it's so bad because a lot of times in my opinion, these techs that are throwing parts are taking off better parts than they're putting on.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. When you see a OE part laying next to the car and there's a dormant part in there, like, okay, well, can we get that one back on there?
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, no, I'm charging the customer for that. And I don't know. I've never been that guy. I guess I've never been the parts changer guy. I'm not going to say I've never thrown a part in a car trying to fix it.
Yeah.
But I've always tried to, I've always took pride in what I did, I guess. Even when I was working with tire shops and stuff, we had several times that we found broken wires for O2 sensors and stuff like that. And I was a tire guy, or, working at a tire shop doing brake and front end work. And, but there was lots of stuff that we shipped away too, because it wasn't profitable.
Yep.
Doesn't make sense.
Yep. No, I worked at Firestone for a long time, and that's how it was. If it wasn't something that you could solve in an hour, it wasn't worth the time. And so send it down the road and we'll do the next set of ball joints or brakes or tires or whatever.
And I think that's a hang up that a lot of shops get into, is they feel like they've married the car, where if they would just, cut their losses and call the customer and say, hey, where do you want this thing towed? Let's send it to a shop that's better equipped, better capable of doing this job, whatever it is, I hate to pick on shops like that, but sometimes you need to pick your battles, and you just need to send that car down the road.
Yeah, well, I agree, and especially nowadays with, I don't know, you can tell me if it's the same thing for you, but so many of the shops I go to are so busy. Their lots are just full of cars, and
they have a car married to a bay. No, send that sucker down the road.
Yeah.
And it may be an easy fix for the guy down the road. So, and that's the other thing you always got to think of, is that if that other shop, if they're primarily a Euro shop and you're not, and you've got a European car that is not a simple fix, just send it down there. Go down there and knock on his door and say, hey, I got one down here. I'm going to send you, just introduce yourself. And I think that this industry is missing a lot of that. We don't have a lot of shop owners that communicate with each other and trade jobs back and forth.
No,
now, there is some, but I don't think there's enough.
It's a lot of competition. It's a lot of tearing other shops or technicians down, just to their customer, like, oh, that place is crappy, don't go there, that doesn't help anybody out.
Yeah, I see it especially down in the city of Detroit. We see a lot of guys that just marry these cars. Yeah,
well, and I've been there too, just doing this stuff, or as technician, where I have a problem where, like, I really want to solve the problem. Like, I gotta figure it out, but that is definitely not profitable a lot of the time. Especially if it's intermittent.
And that's one of the reasons I had to stop doing the diagnostics, is because I would get so wrapped up in, I got to figure out what the hell's wrong with this car.
Yep.
And that's not any good, I don't think, for a mobile guy, because, you're down there. I got to where, I'm an hour into it. If I don't have some kind of direction, it's time to cut my losses and move on.
Yep.
And I've had several vehicles that I've had towed to my house, or I've went and picked up and brought to the house and just told the customer, hey, I'll work on it when I got time. I'm going to be fair with you, but I need a commitment of, X amount of dollars to solve this problem. And, I had a F-150 that was an intermittent no start, and I don't remember what year it was. It was probably an 05 or an 06 era F-150. And I thought it was interesting because every time I went to the car, the battery was dead. And I think I did a YouTube video on it. And so I was trying to figure out if it was related. Was the no start really the battery was dead?
Okay.
Or were they cranking the battery dead because it wouldn't start? And so I wanted I wanted to be in control of the car.
Yeah.
And the guy it was right at the beginning of COVID. He wasn't working, and he said, I need it to work. He said, I don't have a lot of money to spend on it, but at the same time, I need it. That's my primary vehicle. So if you got it for a couple of weeks, if if you can't do it in a couple of weeks, then, I'm going to figure out something else.
Yeah.
And what I had found was that the air conditioning relay was sticking on and it was drawing the battery dead.
Oh, okay.
It was a very interesting problem, and I actually found it by mistake. A lot of things happen by mistake,
Sure.
And it was interesting because I was checking PCM powers and grounds, trying to figure out, because it was a no-com at the time, and I was checking powers and grounds, and I looked over, and the key was off. And I thought, hey, I got power where I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
With the key off.
Okay.
So it was kind of by mistake, I guess. I was doing checks, but I hadn't put two and two together at the time.
Gotcha.
And just started unplugging things on the circuit, looking for like I call looking for the odd man out, or looking for the asshole. And I pulled the AC relay, and as soon as I pulled the AC relay, the clutch turned off, and I thought, oh, you son of a bitch. Because that'll do it.
Yep, for sure. And yeah, it's super satisfying to get to that conclusion and figure that out, but I'm sure it took you a lot of time.
Well, I had to get it to die before I could, because I'd go out and start it every morning. It'd start right up.
Uh-huh.
And then I went, and I still didn't know at that point if it was a crank a customer says it doesn't start. And, it's been to a couple shops. They've put a PCM in it. They've put a fuel pump module in it,
Yeah.
But every time I get there, the battery's dead. And I hadn't figured out, I couldn't get anybody. The shop that referred me was a body shop.
Uh-huh.
And they didn't really know, maybe the key got left on.
Mm-hmm.
And so for my personal satisfaction, I had to see what was happening.
Yep.
And so I didn't throw any parts at it. I didn't even really scan it. I just, what's it do? I want to know. I got to duplicate this problem.
Yep.
And I went out there one morning and nothing. It was dead as a doornail. And I thought,
okay.
Well, that's where we're going to start our diagnosis then.
I remember,
why is it dead?
I remember struggling with that question with customers frequently at Firestone when an engine wouldn't start, and I wanted to know if it cranked or not. And
that's
understandably, people, your average person, they don't know what starters and engine compression and all that stuff. But I'm like, does it go ruh, 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 or does it not do anything? And some people they can't give you an answer. So you're kind of lost on which direction to go.
Yeah. So that's always been a challenging question in this industry. And I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
I always thought it was an easy question until I worked at the north end of Flint for a while. And it cranks, but it won't fire. I'm like, what? Do who?
Yeah. I hear a lot of people say it won't catch. I'm like, well, what does that mean?
Catch what?
What are you throwing at the engine?
I don't know. I don't know where those analogies or words came from.
Yeah.
Or in our industry, but I kind of started I started my YouTube channel by accident as well. I started that as a resource to give my customers to go for these common questions. I was going to do some videos, instructional videos on how to update the Ford software, the Chrysler software at the time, GM software.
Okay.
And my YouTube YouTube channel just kind of blew up.
Yeah. So, what's the name of that for people if they want to find that?
That is my YouTube is Tool Hut USA, also known as the Car Flasher, aka the Car Flasher.
Okay.
So,
and
that's actually what we're changing the name of our business to, is the Car Flasher.
Oh, okay, nice.
So,
and you got a ton of programming videos and.
Yeah, mostly programming videos, some diagnostics videos, some instructional videos, it's all car related type stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know I've used a few of them over the last few years for sure.
Yeah, I probably haven't put a video up in 3 or 4 months now, but I've been busy. And now I got a new guy. I'm kind of hoping that frees me up a little bit so I can do some more. I like doing the videos. It's not profitable, as most people know that do anything on YouTube, but it's satisfying. You know, it's when people comment that, you know, hey, this helped me. And I'll go in a shop today and a guy will say, hey, I was trying to do this Saturn and I found your video.
For sure.
And I did it. And that, to me, that's satisfying, because that's the reason I started the channel, was to help my customers.
Okay.
And, you know, it just like the programming business, it kind of blew up from there.
Yeah. Well, it's just good to find a way to give back in some way or another too, you know, been in this industry long enough and make some money and successful. And it's good to give back somehow or another. And hopefully people use it to do the same.
Well, it's like anything you do. You have people that are thankful, and then you got your jerks too. So.
Oh yeah, plenty of those out there.
Yeah, the keyboard warriors or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I say, it's part of the. I think that's part of the reason more people don't do videos, is because of all the people that got their own opinion about things.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough thing to just put yourself out there, you know, because everybody's got flaws, and when you're out there on, you know, social media or YouTube or whatever, there's somebody who's going to call you on something, you know.
And I'm okay with that, because if they're going to be respectful about it, they're going to tell me, hey, that's not the proper way to do this. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with that.
Sure.
Or you skipped a step. I'm okay with that. You know, show me what I did wrong.
Yeah.
I'm open to it, you know. Mm-hmm. But if you can't show me what I did wrong, then, you know, your opinion doesn't mean much.
There's a difference in, you know, hey, you know, you skipped a step or whatever, being respectful, or the opposite, where people are just, you know, complete jerks about it just because that's the only reason that they're online, is to tear somebody down, you know. But yeah.
So I've had my, you know, people like that on YouTube too, and it kind of slowed me down a little bit on the YouTube stuff, and then I just don't care anymore. You know, I'm going to do it. And so I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm at an age now that I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it.
Yeah, I like that, and if it's helping people, all the better. Okay, so I got one final question for you here. Okay. So if I got a lot of people listen to the show, and a lot of younger technicians that are in shops and stuff, if you had some advice for a younger person in this industry, you know, who knows what direction they're going to take, but what would you tell somebody who's just starting out in the automotive field?
Stay off the tool truck.
Okay.
I have an opinion about tool trucks and new guys, and I think they've been very harmful to our industry. I think they've scared a lot of young techs away. Young guys, if you're starting out doing this and all you can afford is Harbor Freight tools, the experienced guys are okay with that. Mm-hmm. You know, until you get your feet wet, till you start making some money, use that Harbor Freight stuff till it falls in the trash can.
Sure. Yeah.
That's my opinion. And it's, if you're going to get on the tool truck, do not buy a toolbox. Buy a set of screwdrivers and pay off a set of screwdrivers. Buy a set of wrenches and pay off the set of wrenches. If you're getting on haven't been in this industry 5 years and you get off the tool truck with a toolbox, I think the tool truck driver should be shot.
Yep. No, I saw it so many times myself, where it's that 10 grand toolbox.
I think that's one of the big problems with our industry, is the tool truck drivers just bury the new guys. And then the new guys, you know, they don't see a way out of where the tool truck guy has put them. and so they move on to doing HVAC or move on to doing electrical, or
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I tell my students the same thing. Especially that $10,000 toolbox, that's not making you money. And
right.
Maybe if that's what you want, eventually you can get there. That's great. I have no problem with somebody who wants a nice toolbox, but get those tools that are actually going to make you money. Get those swivel sockets.
Start making some money first.
Yeah.
Fill up that toolbox with tools that make you money.
Yeah. Yeah. Get that
you got to put the chain around every night to lock it up, because it's falling apart.
I always thought, I was like, if they really want to get in there, they'll get in there.
But I'm just saying it doesn't matter what it looks like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Years ago I went to I was moving shops. I've never been a toolbox guy. I've never been that guy. I had some tool truck branded toolboxes, but they were old trade-ins that I bought cheap,
Mm-hmm.
And I was moving. I was going to another shop, and I had interviewed. It was a super nice shop. It was a long drive, and I get there, and the owner of the shop says, "Oh, you don't have a Snap-on toolbox. You can't work here." And I looked at him. I says, "Are you serious?" And he says, "Yep, I'm serious." And I pushed my toolbox back in the truck, and down the road I went.
Oh wow!
That's to my opinion. It's the toolbox does not make the tech.
No. I still have the toolboxes I had when I was tech at Firestone, but I had the dumpiest toolboxes, and what I did was just like, once I ran out of space in one, I bought another cheap one and just pushed it next to it, because the Snap-on guys there every week, you need a bigger toolbox, you run out of room. I'm like, nah, I'll just push this one over here, and I got two dumpy toolboxes. But
I had two Sam's Club toolboxes next to each other. They were bolted together, and the wheels had buckled under on one of them, and had welded legs underneath it. And the same thing, a Snap-on guy, Matt guy, all of them were in every week, and they're like, "Oh, you could really use a toolbox." And, yeah, the toolbox does just fine.
Yep. Drawers open, a box.
I still got a Craftsman. I got a Craftsman toolbox at the house that's about to fall apart, and I think I'm going to go buy a Harbor Freight toolbox to replace it. But I'm just working on stuff here at the house, so I don't need anything fancy. But I'm gonna, I got enough tools out there still, and I'd like to have them in a decent box. So then the Craftsman box, been out, it's in a garage, so it's a wet environment, and the bottom of it's rusting out of it.
Sure.
So it's gonna fall over. So I could weld the bottom on it, but I think I'm just gonna buy a toolbox.
Yeah. The Harbor Freight stuff isn't too bad. So
yeah. So the Harbor Freight stuff wasn't around when I was, it was Craftsman, or you could go to a couple of different places. There were places like Harbor Freight, but they weren't popular like they were, like they are today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Technicians, especially young technicians, have so many options for buying tools. It's good to buy them from somebody who can, offer you support and warranty in that, but just, you can do the shopping online just to see, is this a legitimate price? What am I getting for this? That was huge. I wish I had that when I was starting out, just to be able to pull out my phone, which I didn't have at that time. Yeah. But to pull it out and be like,
yeah, we had phones, but they flipped open,
Yeah.
And you used them to make phone calls, believe it or not.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm old enough that I remember walking to the gas station when I was a kid with 75 cents to get a gallon of gas for the lawnmower, and having enough money for a candy bar. So
okay.
After I bought the gallon of gas.
Yeah, and they still had the payphone at the gas station. Yeah.
And the guy still pumped it and washed the windshield and stuff for you.
So the first shop that I worked at was a full service gas station, and they're not around anymore, but it had the little air tube that was out, so people drive up the bell would.
I got one at my house.
Stuff.
I got
no kidding.
Yeah, I got an air hose at my house for. I was kind of surprised you haven't heard it go off. It's my driveway alarm.
Okay.
Because we've tried some of those expensive driveway alarms, that sees the car go by.
Yeah,
they don't work. So I bought a driveway bell.
Nice.
Ding ding.
Yep.
Neighbors probably hate it, but it works.
Yeah, it works. Does it work in the wintertime too when it's cold?
Not so much. The snow.
Packs
up around it.
Gotcha.
But typically, what I do is I pull the hose out of the way and I snow blow, and then I put it back down, so it's good till it snows again.
Gotcha.
Or if it melts into the ice or something, but
yeah, right.
But we got a 700-foot driveway, so it's
okay.
It's nice to know somebody's pulling into the driveway.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they can sneak in on you.
Right. Cool. Well, thanks for spending your evening with me here, Sam. I really appreciate it.
Sorry about the delay getting started here.
Oh, no worries at all.
So,
I got
hopefully it can help somebody, or hopefully encourage somebody.
Yeah.
Doing programming. I know we didn't get into real deep into some subjects, but
yeah, well, we can, and maybe in the future we could pick a specific topic or something like that. But what I found is just people hearing from other people that are doing this and successful and passionate. It just gets them going and wanting to be better and keep going, right? Because sometimes this job sucks. you need some outside influence to just be like, all right, it's worth it. I gotta keep going.
And just so you know, it's not all gravy sitting being the mobile guy either.
Yeah, not even close.
It's got its own frustrations. You get to shops and it's been a frustrating day, and then you hook up and you can't program the Chrysler because the server's down. And you're like, I just drove 60 miles to.
Yeah.
Gonna have to come back tomorrow.
Yep. That stuff that's outside of your control. That's the worst.
Because it works 1 minute and it doesn't the next. That's the problem.
Yep.
So
I think it was Ben that we were talking to today. You guys both did the same control module today, and yours was 20 minutes and his was like 3.5 hours.
I think we figured out what the difference was finally.
Is it the hardwired?
No, the difference was he did an update and I did a PMI.
Oh, okay.
And I told him, I said, I did not check that module for an update when I was done, because that's one of the drawbacks with PMI, is because it doesn't always put the latest calibration in it. It configures the module.
Okay.
It doesn't always do the update.
Gotcha.
And I'm terrible for it because I don't always go check for an update. And that was a what do they call it? IPMA image processing module.
Okay.
So it's a camera for
the one on the windshield?
On the I think that's the one in the windshield for the front.
Okay.
This one might have been in the grill. I don't remember. I don't really pay attention to where the modules are. I'm there to program it.
Sure.
It doesn't matter to me where it's at. And, I did PMI on it. I had to use as-built data because the original one was gone. And it took 20 minutes. But it was a body shop that I can't get a good internet connection to. So I just walked over to the router, plugged in my cable, and went to work on it. It's a shop that I'm at all the time, so I know where the ports are, and I know how to. I walk in with the cable because I know my internet doesn't work there, and they don't have Wi-Fi because it doesn't work good in the building.
You just got like 100-foot, or is it on a reel or anything?
I've got a 100-foot, I got a 50-foot, I got a 25-foot.
Okay.
So I got a variety of
Cat
5 cables.
Okay.
And they're a pain in the butt to keep wound up because they don't wind up well.
Right. That's what I was wondering.
Designed to be unrolled and rolled up all the time.
Exactly. No, I got the same thing. I had a 50-foot one, and yeah, trying to get it rolled back up into a neat spot. I was like, what the heck? I got to get one. I don't know, like a reel or something, but I couldn't find one.
It doesn't help. I got one on a reel too, and my 100-foot's on a reel, and it's a jumbled up mess.
Okay.
You got to buy one of those super flexible ones from Amazon or something.
All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. I want to give one more big thank you to Sam for joining me on the show today. Really appreciate it and enjoyed getting to sit down and talk with him. Make sure to check out his YouTube channel. Again, that's Tool Hut USA. That's going to be a link in the show notes you can click on. You go right there. But also like to thank everybody for listening. I really appreciate it. But with that all out of the way, let's get out there, start fixing the world one car at a time.